These are my numbers for the phone.
Those will be tomorrow, right?
Yeah. Okay. So, giving you in advance.
Thank you. Yeah. Okay. Well.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Oh, that's fine. It's just not normal. Let me go back one. I'll just put 64 in there. 19. That's fine. I will figure it out. Thank you.
When you get a second. Darlene, do you have those satellite photos and maps, Google Earth, whatever they were?
Can you tell me what number?
Yeah. Thank you.
Where's the witness?
All rise.
Dr. Paniagua, at the time when you met Brenda Delgado, you had not finalized your divorce from your wife at the time, correct?
We had filed all the paperwork, but the divorce was not finalized. Yes, sir.
So the status, if you will, in August 2012 is you and your wife have separated, separate households, divorce is pending but not finalized when you meet Brenda Delgado.
Yes, sir.
All right, so divorce is in the works, it was later finalized in 2013, correct?
I believe so, yes, sir. January 2013, when it was finalized.
So we go August 2012, you meet Brenda Delgado, you all start dating, and then by November of 2012, you and Brenda Delgado are living together, correct?
Yes, sir.
So you meet her, and approximately 3 months later, y'all are living together, correct?
Yes, sir.
Now, later you guys split up. You maintained a household, and then she had, going the times relevant to this trial, you had your own apartment, Brenda had her apartment, correct?
Yes, sir.
Generally speaking, where did you live? If you remember the actual street number, say it, but if you don't.
2737 North Fitzhugh Avenue,
All right, to put that so the jury understands.
in the Knox Henderson area.
All right, well, you're very much at the south end of that, though, aren't you? What's the closest major intersection, so we know exactly what part of town you're talking about? You're on Fitzhugh.
Off of 75.
You're closer to McKinney?
Closer to Henderson, that cross.
Well, Fitzhugh runs across 75, east and west, correct?
Right.
You are west of 75, correct?
Yes.
All right. So if I were to exit, say I'm driving southbound on 75,
Right.
I'm going to take the Knox Fitzhugh exit, correct?
Yes, sir.
When I get to Fitzhugh, going south toward downtown Dallas, I'm going to take a right.
Yes, sir.
How far, best you can, how far are you from 75?
Within maybe a mile, something like that.
You're much closer than that, aren't you?
It's been a while since I've been out there, but yeah, it's close, within a mile.
Well, Fitzhugh doesn't even go a mile from that direction, correct? It changes streets.
I'd have to look at a map.
All right, let me put it in another. You live before the Katy Trail, don't you?
I live near the Katy Trail.
I mean, you're right by it, aren't you?
It would be about a half mile to get to the Katy Trail from where I was located.
Your house numbered on Fitzhugh?
Where I was located, I would sometimes run to the Katy Trail, and it would be about a half mile to get to the Katy Trail.
But the Katy Trail, your apartment was before the Katy Trail coming from 75, correct?
It may be easier if we have a map that I can look at. It's been some time since I've lived there.
Well, would it be true that you would, all right, if you're on Fitzhugh, you're going west, there's a bridge, and the Katy Trail goes over Fitzhugh, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right, you got to your apartment before you got to that bridge, true statement?
Again, I would want to look at a map before I...
You're a medical doctor, correct?
Yes, sir.
How long did you live in that apartment?
For approximately 2 years.
So you knew how to get there.
Yes, sir.
You drove there at least 730 times, true statement?
Yes, sir, but it's also been about 5 years since I've been there.
All right.
So just simply to refresh my memory, it'd be easiest to look at a map.
To go to where Brenda lived off of 75 on the very next exit going southbound on 75.
Yes,
True?
sir.
Not that you would walk it, but the truth is y'all were within walking distance of each other, correct?
It would be about a mile to Brenda's house.
And it's on the other side of 75.
It's on the same side that I was on.
And y'all are both in the, generally speaking, the uptown area of Dallas, correct?
Yes, sir.
And the uptown area of Dallas is essentially north of Woodall, west of 75, and more or less east of I-35. Does that sound about right?
I believe so, yes.
McKinney Avenue area, Lemon Avenue, all that, correct?
Yes, sir.
And in this area, even today, but certainly in 2015, the uptown area was kind of the hip hopping for younger single people like you guys. That was sort of the place to go out and be seen, correct?
Yes, sir.
And the Katy Trail, which you have referenced, the Katy Trail is, in essence, a very, very long city park, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
So it's run by the city of Dallas, right?
Yes, sir.
It's a jogging trail that was made from an old railroad track, correct?
Yes, sir.
It is very popular in Uptown, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
It is a very popular jogging location, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
It would not be unusual for people who live in Uptown to see each other, particularly in y'all's age range, to see each other either walking, jogging, or biking on the Katy Trail, correct?
No, sir.
I mean, it's popular.
Yes, sir.
Are there times when it gets so popular on the Katy Trail it's almost too crowded to jog?
It's a popular location, yes, sir.
I mean, there's times when it's almost a traffic jam of pedestrian traffic, right?
It was heavily populated, yes, sir.
And there's times you got bikes going down the road, and there have been issues about safety of bikes being out there because they're trying to move in and out of the people walking and jogging, true?
Yes, sir.
The uptown places, there's all kinds of places where people can go, and you may run into people out running around in Uptown, correct?
Yes, sir.
There'd be nothing unusual about that, would there?
To run into somebody,
That you recognize.
yes, sir.
That's normal, isn't it?
That would happen on occasion, yes, sir.
You mentioned a Panera Bread. Do you remember where that one was?
That would have been east of the Katy Trail, off of.
I'm sorry, rephrase. Was the Panera Bread in the Uptown area also?
It was also close, yes, sir.
So it would have been very close to where you lived, correct?
That Panera Bread would have been about 3 miles away from where I lived.
When I say very close, I'm thinking if you were driving, not running. But if you were to drive, would it have been to drive from your apartment to this Panera Bread? Would it have been within a 5-minute drive?
Yes, sir.
The Panera Bread that you referenced, would it have been within a 5-minute drive of where Brenda Delgado lived?
Yes, sir.
You mentioned that there was a time when you had trouble with your vehicle and you called Brenda to help you. Do you recall?
Yes, sir.
Did you call her knowing that she would help you?
I contacted her with the inquiry as to whether she would be able to help me.
All right. Did you think if she could, she would?
I believed so, yes, sir.
When, to the best of your memory, when was this?
That was July 27th. And
You remember the exact date?
yes, sir.
All right. July 27 of what?
Of 2015.
15. Okay. So this is 5 months-ish after you and Brenda are no longer seeing each other.
Yes, sir.
So as of July 27, 2015, you felt completely comfortable calling Brenda.
Yes, sir.
You felt completely comfortable speaking with Brenda.
Yes, sir.
You felt completely comfortable seeing if Brenda could help you.
Yes, sir.
You felt completely comfortable meeting Brenda.
Yes, sir.
You felt completely comfortable, and you felt completely comfortable riding in a car with her.
Yes, sir.
We'll show you State's Exhibit 76, which is in evidence in the. They've asked you about it. May I approach? But actually, this road that I'm going along right there, that's Highway 183, isn't it?
I believe so. Yes.
Well, I'll ask you a different one. If you and I were Dr. Hatcher's apartment, we decided we were going to leave there and drive to Dr. Hatcher's office, how would we go?
So it would typically take about 10 to 15 minutes to arrive there off of, kind of toward 183.
10 to 15 minutes out there at Irving?
That's my recollection.
Well, how long has it been since you've done it?
2015.
If we go down, Dr. Hatcher's apartment is in the uptown area, correct?
Yes, sir.
Specifically, it's in the 1900 block of Cedar Springs, correct?
Yes, sir.
It's fairly close to the Clyde Warren Park, correct?
Yes, sir.
You would have to leave the apartment and then by one means or another either get onto Woodall Rogers, correct?
Yes, sir.
You know Woodall Rogers, that freeway that runs just north of
Yes,
downtown.
sir. Yes, sir.
Then you would take Woodall Rogers and you would go northbound on I-35, correct?
Yes, sir.
You would take it all the way up to where 183 splits off, correct?
Yes, sir.
And then you would go west on 183 past where the Dallas Cowboys Stadium used to be, correct?
Yes, sir.
Do you know where that, I know you weren't living here back in that day, but did you know this area right here is where the Dallas Cowboys Stadium used to be?
I wouldn't have been able to say that.
I know you weren't here, but they may tell you that's where the stadium used to be, or in any event. So those of us who live here, so we know where we're talking about, we have to go from downtown Dallas, up 35, 183, west on 183, and then we're going to go past it. And what is her exit?
I don't know. I don't remember what exit I would take. I would just enter in the data into a map app and let's follow it.
All right. The next street, if you look on the left side, you're able to see that, going north and south. The next major street is MacArthur Boulevard, correct?
Okay.
Is it, I mean, the document is in evidence, the map is in evidence. Do you see what I'm talking about? I'll go point it to you.
Sure.
Permission to approach. I realize you didn't grow up here. I'm not. But if you see that area, does that say South MacArthur Boulevard?
Yes, sir.
All right. Now the red dot they put in at 245 East Rawweiler, is that where Dr. Hatcher's office was?
Yes, sir.
All right. MacArthur Boulevard is the next major street going to the west, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. If I said to you, if there wasn't a car on the street and you could really hoof it and didn't worry about the cops, that'd be at least a 20-minute drive. Would that sound about right?
That sounds about right, yes, sir.
Right. If you put in any amount of traffic, that could be, you know, depending upon time of day, going up 35, getting out of downtown Dallas. If you inject any amount of traffic in there, that could be easy 30, if not 45 minutes or more, correct?
Yes, sir.
That's what's...
Doctor, you were asked some questions about how you felt in terms of meeting with the defendant, talking with her, things of that nature. You recall that?
Yes, sir.
Now, your relationship ended in February of 2015.
Yes, sir.
We move on to July and August of 2015. What were your thoughts in terms of the type, and I don't mean relationship, but in terms of how you and Ms. Delgado would deal with each other?
We were platonic friends.
In your mind, you were platonic friends.
Yes, sir.
Is that why you felt comfortable calling her and asking her about help with the vehicle?
Yes, sir.
Now, during this time frame that y'all are platonic friends, we're moving into August now, were there times when you're having conversations with her about what your future plans and what steps you were taking to get to those future plans?
Yes, sir.
And what kind of steps were you taking on your way to those future plans as far as here? What kinds of things were you trying to do here that she was aware of?
So that would have included selling major items in anticipation of moving to California.
And do you recall what type of items you were trying to sell?
I had an elliptical Precore, and I had a large table. Those were among the items. I had a couch, bed, etc.
Do you recall any of those conversations taking place towards the end of August of 2015?
With,
As far as selling of items?
yes, sir.
And previously you had mentioned removing her from a cell phone. Was it a contract or a plan?
Yes, sir. She was on my cell phone plan. We shared it together.
Do you recall that finally, as far as her being off the plan, coming to fruition on August 31st?
Yes, sir.
Now, when we move towards the unfortunate events of September the 2nd, after learning what happened to Dr. Hatcher, did you convey that to Ms. Delgado?
Yes, sir. That later that night, I sent a text to her conveying that my girlfriend had died.
Do you recall what kind of response you got back from her?
That night, I did not get a response. I got a response the next morning.
Do you recall what the response was?
Just that she didn't get the message until today, which would have been September 3rd. And that she was sorry.
So the day after, so this is September 3rd or September 4th.
This was September 3rd.
The response from her, she's sorry.
Yes, sir.
Did she, no, let me back up a minute. So this awful thing happens. You talk to your family and let them know what happened?
Yes, sir. I'm talking to multiple people. I'm trying to get a hold of anybody and everybody related to Kendra Hatcher. I'm talking to my own family.
What did immediate members of your family do after hearing about this awful event?
Well, my sister, Angelina, immediately upon hearing it, she booked a flight to Dallas, and she was there by the next morning at 9 a.m.
And so she's there to console you.
Yes, sir.
During that time frame that your sister is here, did you receive any kind of phone call or text message from Brenda Delgado?
Yes, sir.
And can you tell the jury what she contacted you about, what she was offering to do?
She was offering any assistance, such as providing groceries or other items that we might need.
So she's offering to bring some food.
Yes.
And in fact, does she do that?
No, sir.
What happened that, I guess, stopped that from happening?
So it was my sister Angelina who had started to do more of the coordinating with Brenda in terms of bringing food over. And on Friday, which would have been September 4th, that's when on the news, that's where we start to get some additional information about the case, including the image of the Jeep in which there was a female driver. And at the time, we thought that could have, the image looked similar enough to Brenda that we became scared.
And in response to being scared, was she contacted in some way, shape, or form and told, that's okay, never mind about the food, we're good?
Yes, my sister just said, don't worry about it, we don't need any food.
Pastor Woods.
So you contacted her via text, her meaning Brenda Delgado, and then she responds the next morning expressing that she's sorry or something to that effect, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. Can we see the actual text? This is going back to 2015, we're now in 2019. Can we see the actual text so we can see exactly what was said, what time it came in?
I believe we have that information.
Do you have it?
I don't have it on
In
me
any
right
event,
now.
it was you that told Brenda that Dr. Hatcher had been killed, correct?
Yes, sir.
And then she later says something offering some assistance, and you basically tell your sister once you coordinate with that, that's out of your control, and then at some point you see what's on the news and you become suspicious of Brenda, so you all sort of cut off any offers of help or anything like that.
Yes, sir.
All right. Brenda never did call you or come by your place, did she?
On September 3rd, at about noon, we had a single telephone conversation.
Did you call her or she call you?
If I recall, she called me.
Well, if you recall, that's what are you sure of that?
I wouldn't be able to say with 100% certainty. Either I called her or she called me.
I get there was a call that took place, but as you sit here right now, you cannot tell this jury one way or the other how it happened, true?
Well, so because she had sent me a text late morning on September 3rd saying, expressing her saying that she was sorry, and then soon thereafter, either there was a follow-up phone call on her end, or I had called her. I don't recall which one occurred.
So it could have happened either way.
Yes, sir.
Right. And the bottom line is a day or so after that, you met with a detective named Barnes, correct?
Yes, sir.
It's a Dallas police officer named Eric Barnes, correct?
Yes, sir.
During the course of that meeting with Detective Eric Barnes, among other things, he asked if he could see your cell phone, correct?
Yes, sir.
The cell phone would have contained all of this information that we're talking about right now, so that we're not relying on your memory. We know exactly what was said in text, what call was made or received, how long it lasted, all that. And he wanted the ability to look at your cell phone to get that information as part of his investigation into this case, correct?
At that time, he had Brenda's cell phone data.
I'm asking, did he ask you for yours so that he could get the same information from you off of your cell phone?
Yes, sir.
And did you tell him no?
I told him that I wanted to make sure that patient privacy was protected.
Well, you told him a lot of things in that interview, didn't you?
Yes, sir.
And you said that people had contacted you and said something about the fact, and after talking with some of my friends who contacted me, I'm not sure if I should give you my cell phone. Does that ring a bell?
A friend who is a lawyer had instructed that I talk to an attorney before handing over the cell phone so that I can make sure that things like patient privacy were protected.
You never told Eric Barnes that you spoke to a lawyer, did you?
Yes, he was fully aware of that.
In that interview that was recorded at the police station, you told him you did not have a lawyer. Isn't that true?
That was prior to discussing with the lawyer. Yes, sir.
I'm talking about the first time you sat down in the meeting with Detective Barnes that was being recorded in the interview room. You didn't say one word about a lawyer in there, did you?
I did not have a lawyer at that time, no, sir.
You just said some friends had contacted you and you weren't comfortable handing over the cell phone, correct?
Yes, sir.
Then he started talking about, well, you don't have to do it, it's a voluntary deal, but I can get a search warrant, correct?
Yes, sir.
And then he asked you about, well, you know, we may need to seize the phone, it's got evidence, we want it. And then he asked you, do you have your cell phone in your possession during that interview? Do you recall that question?
Yes, sir.
Do you recall that your answer to him was, no, I don't have it, I've got a different cell phone?
Yes, sir.
And then he asked you, why do you have a different cell phone, didn't he?
Yes, sir.
He was a little surprised that just in the interim between scheduling the meeting and you showing up for the meeting, that you've gone off and gotten a different cell phone so that you wouldn't have the one he needed as part of his investigation. He was somewhat surprised, wasn't he?
Yes, sir.
And is it true that you said, well, you told me to get a new number so people couldn't call me?
Yes, something like that. Yes, sir.
Did he immediately respond, I told you to get a different telephone number. I never told you anything about getting a different cell phone. Is that how Detective Barnes responded to you?
I believe so. Yes, sir.
Did you ever, going back to not the phone you had with you when you met with Detective Barnes, but did you ever go get, in fact, you said the phone was at a home with some woman you were staying with at the time, correct?
With a colleague. Yes, sir.
I'm sorry, one more time.
A colleague.
So you're staying with some person, and you said that's where the phone is, and you told him that, right?
Yes, sir.
You never told him the address where that was, did you?
Not at the time, no, sir.
And you never voluntarily gave him that cell phone ever, did you?
I did give that cell phone to him after the interview.
You said you didn't have the relevant cell phone with you at the interview.
At the
Were you
time.
lying to him?
No, at the time I did not have the cell phone with me. Later that day, I did end up speaking to a lawyer who assured me that patient privacy would be protected, and my cell phone was delivered to the team of investigators.
The relevant cell phone.
Yes.
But we, well, I realize you're a doctor, not a lawyer, but you, if I say the word discovery, you have some idea what that might mean, right? All right. Does it make sense that the state has to turn over all their stuff to me in a criminal proceeding? Would it seem logical?
Yes, sir.
If they don't have your stuff, if detectives within the district attorney's office have told me they don't have it, is there any reason under the sun why a DA investigator, the chief DA investigator, would lie to me about that?
Objection, Your Honor, calls for speculation on the part of this witness.
What's this guy?
I mean, the bottom line is, you didn't give them that cell phone, true?
No, that's not true. I did give the cell phone to the investigators.
Which one?
The relevant phone from.
Did you give it to Barnes or to the DA's office?
I gave it to my lawyer, who gave it to the investigator.
All right, I asked you earlier, did you give it to him? You said you gave it to him. Are you now saying you gave it to your lawyer and entrusted it to your lawyer?
Yes, sir.
So you don't have any personal knowledge whether it was ever given to the detectives?
No.
And so if a chief investigator from the DA's office said, we don't have a cell phone dump from Dr. Paniagua, she wouldn't be lying, and you didn't personally give it to anybody.
I personally did not give my cell phone to the investigative team.
Did you witness your lawyer handing it to a police officer or a detective or somebody from the district attorney's office?
No, sir.
And if they took it for evidentiary purposes, did your lawyer get a receipt for evidence that he could show you so you would have it until they gave you your cell phone back?
I don't recall a receipt for evidence.
You never got any receipt for evidence, did you, sir?
At the time, I don't recall if I got a receipt.
And you know for an absolute fact that they never searched, you know for an absolute fact that they never served you with a search warrant to seize the phone and download the data from the phone.
Yes, sir.
You know that didn't happen.
Yes,
correct?
sir.
And when this was all going on, Barnes told you in that first meeting, that he could seize the phone on his own and then later get a search warrant, right?
Yes, sir.
But he couldn't seize it because you didn't bring it. You brought a brand new phone that didn't have any of the data.
Yes,
True?
sir.
Is it true?
Yes,
statement? And were there times when you asked him, number one, did you ever ask him, is all of this being recorded?
Yes, sir.
Did he tell you, yes, everything in this building is being recorded?
Yes, sir.
Did he tell you, or did you ask him on several occasions, can we go off the record, i.e., can we turn the recording off and then me talk to you without it being recorded?
Yes, sir.
And did Detective Barnes tell you, no, sir, we're not allowed to do that, there's nothing off the record, everything has to be recorded?
Yes, sir.
That's what's...
Thank you, sir. You may stand down. You're free to leave the courthouse.
He'd be excused, Your Honor.
No objection, Your Honor.
solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you shall give in this cause will be the truth?
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
Mayor, proceed, Your Honor.
You may.
Good afternoon.
Hello.
Could you introduce yourself to the jury, please?
My name's Larry Splon,
And would you spell your last name for the court reporter?
S-P-L-A-W-N.
Mr. Swan, how were you employed?
I was the director of security for the property where the incident occurred.
Okay, but how are you employed now?
I'm currently still a director of security, but for another management group.
At the same facility?
No, sir,
Same building?
different facility.
So back in September of 2015, where were you employed? Or were you, the same company, but where were you assigned?
At the 1717 McKinney building,
And what exactly did you do at that building?
director of security.
Tell the jury what that means in terms of you being a director of security.
Security assignment of all of our officers that protect the property, video surveillance and access to and from the facility.
And are you familiar with the video surveillance system that was in place back then?
Yes, sir, I am.
Can you describe just generally how it worked?
It was a DS Control Point, which is a digital security manufactured by Pelco. It was covered our entrances of parking garages.
And you had an opportunity to review some videos from that those security cameras.
Yes, sir, I have.
And did they fairly and accurately collect the images of how that part, or those parts of the garage looked in 2015?
Yes, sir, they did.
Now, the images that we are talking about, are those images of your garage or are they images of an adjacent garage?
Both, sir. The camera's located in our garage in our executive parking area, but it shows into the Gables residential area.
Airport John?
You may.
States Exhibit 19 and States Exhibit 21, you have reviewed these items,
Yes, sir, I have.
and they display pretty much or very accurately the events of that day.
Yes, sir, they did.
All right, we'd offer States 19 and States 21.
No objection.
Admitted.
Permission to publish?
You may.
And Mr. Swan, we are publishing States Exhibit 21. You say publishing, that means those screens are going to light up in a minute and the jury's going to be able to see the events that you talked about.
Okay, sir.
You can also see on that screen right next to you, you can also see the same images.
Okay, sir.
So the parking area that's most prominent where that white vehicle is, whose parking garage is that?
That was ours, our side for our executive parking.
And then if we look a little further up towards the top of the screen, we see, it looks like metal fencing.
Yes, sir, that's correct.
And what is on the other side of the metal fencing?
That's the parking area for the Gables apartments.
And what is the Gables, what kind of building is that?
That's an apartment building. It's a dual-use facility, office tower, and apartments.
Was it also secured by a gate?
Yes, sir, it was.
If you look at the top of the screen, just past the fenced area, do you see a row of vehicles parked?
Yes, sir, I do.
And do you recall, Mr. Spahn, if that portion of that parking garage, is that actually a ramp that projects downwards?
Yes, sir, it is.
Do you see a time clock in that video, Mr. Spahn?
Yes, sir, I do.
And what time do you see?
7:42 p.m.
And did we just see a white vehicle on the other side of that gated area, that fenced portion?
Yes, sir.
Do you see taillights on that vehicle?
Yes, sir, I do.
And is that an indication what that vehicle was about to do?
Yes, sir, it appeared to be parking on that level.
Now, you see a figure.
Yes, sir, I do.
Does that figure appear to be walking in the same direction of the vehicle that had parked?
Yes, sir.
Do you see a vehicle, additional taillights?
Yes, sir, I do.
And what is that vehicle doing?
It's backing out of the parking space.
Did you see anyone get in that vehicle?
It appeared that someone did approach and enter the vehicle.
Now, what direction is that vehicle now going? One that backed out.
Down to the lower parking level.
Is there a way to get out of that garage at that lower level?
No, sir, there's not.
So if someone wanted to, after going down that way, wanted to exit back out of that parking garage, what would they have to do?
They'd have to turn around and exit. There's just a one entry and exit there on that level.
You see that vehicle?
Yes, sir, a silver car. Yes, sir.
Are you able to tell what kind of vehicle that is?
Appears to be a Corvette.
And are you able to tell?
Small silver sedan and an older Jeep Cherokee.
Thank you, sir. Pass the witness.
No questions?
Thank you, sir. You may stand down here for the courthouse.
Excuse your honor.
Yes, sir.
Our state calls Abe Santiago.
Good afternoon. You solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you shall give in this cause will be the truth.
Yes, I do.
Can I proceed? Good afternoon, sir. Please introduce yourself to the jury.
Yes, my name is Abe Santiago.
Mr. Santiago, how are you currently employed?
I was employed by the Dallas Police Department crime scene section.
Did you retire from the Dallas Police Department crime scene section?
Yes, I did, last July the 3rd.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
What did you do with the Dallas Police Department crime scene section?
I was, my title was crime scene analyst, crime scene investigator. Collection of evidence at a scene, they could be photographs or actual items collected at a scene and preserved for future.
So you were like one of the CSI guys, basically.
Yes.
It doesn't work like it does on TV, but
No.
tell the jury a little bit about the education, background, experience, and training you had to have to be a crime scene analyst for DPD.
Crime scene analyst requires, when I first came on the job training, things have changed since, where you have to have a lot of schooling behind you in order to enter that unit. But when I first came on, it was on the job training and then schooling while I was on the job.
How many years were you in that particular unit?
Over 20 years.
20 years? Or
Over 20 years, I'm sorry.
Over 20 years, and probably a tough question to answer, but how often would you respond to calls to go to a crime scene? More than once a day?
Yes.
Multiple times a day for 20 years, so we're talking thousands and thousands of calls.
Yes, sir.
Well, I want to talk a little bit about what you do when you go to a crime scene. What in general you guys do at a crime scene?
When we respond to a crime scene, we first try to make contact with the officers at the scene, the first officers at the scene, and get an idea of what type of call we have there so that we know what to start looking for and taking photographs of eventually.
Mr. Santiago, I want to direct your attention to a particular crime scene. It was a murder that took place on September 2nd, 2015 at 1700 Cedar Springs Road in Dallas County, Texas. Did you respond to that location that evening?
Yes, I did.
Explain to the jury exactly what you did when you got there.
As I mentioned a few minutes ago, I made contact with the first responding officers who gave me information on what they found once they arrived. I then entered the garage, the location, and surveyed the crime scene area, and then proceeded to photograph before doing anything else.
So in terms of the order in which you do things, first you kind of get a lay of the land, photograph, and then what do you do after that?
After that, it's a collection of evidence, if there is any to collect, and of course the photographs.
Your Honor, may I approach the witness? Mr. Santiago, I'm going to show you State's Exhibits 4 and 5. Are these a couple of maps that will help the jury understand where this location is?
Yes, this is in downtown Dallas here, yes.
And I've also got State's Exhibits, it's 34 through 69, but 56 is already in evidence. So 34 through 69, excuse me, are these pictures of the crime scene that you took?
If I can review them quickly, I'll tell you. Yes, they are.
Is this what it looked like that night when you went to the location?
Yes.
Your Honor, State Officer State's Exhibits 34 through 55 and 57 through 69. And 4 and 5 also.
No objection.
Admit it.
So let's start with State's Exhibit number 4. Mr. Santiago, is this kind of explain where the location is here. We've got the Gables Park 17, that's at 1700 Cedar Springs. This is Woodall Rogers. This is I-35, and here's Central Expressway, is that correct?
Yes. Yes.
And then State's Exhibit 5 is just a closer up so we can kind of see exactly where it is. Apartment complex over here. This is Woodall Rogers Freeway, is that correct?
Yes, it is.
Let's go to State's Exhibit number 34 and start with that so we can kind of explain to the jury what you saw when you went out to the location. What is State's Exhibit 34?
This is the from the street. When I arrived, my car's to the right there. My looking towards the garage, the crime scene location.
And 35, we're just kind of moving closer in, is that correct?
Stepping into the garage, yes.
36, we continue to move in.
Yes.
Now, I want to make reference in 36 here to that sign where it says visitor, retail, and resident, and reserve, and right above where that arrow, where it says resident is, and then refer to number 37, State's Exhibit 37. What is that in the middle of the picture there above where that arrow is?
A surveillance camera.
Why'd you take a picture of that?
At all of our scenes, when there are cameras at the location, we photograph them to show their placement as opposed to the crime scene.
So let's go to 38. Now we're looking at that gate that the jury saw a moment ago. And I want to make reference on the right side of the picture to where the bicycles are, and there's a gate there, and then we'll go to State's Exhibit 39. In State's Exhibit 39, are you standing at that gate?
Yes, looking in towards the garage.
May we please have the lights? Now, as we look in here, describe what it is that's on the left side where the vehicles are. How is this garage set up?
Looking from the gate right there, that's the first level to the left. And then way in the very back far dark wall, there is a ramp going down to a lower level.
So going to 40, we can see a little bit better. So as you walk in that gate, immediately on your left, there's a first row of cars, then there's a middle row, and then there's that back wall over there. Is that what you were referring to?
Yes, sir.
Okay, referring to that back wall where you said there's a ramp going down, I want to go to State's Exhibit 41. What is State's Exhibit 41 do we see?
That is the back wall I was referring to in the first dark shot, going down to the left.
Now, Mr. Santiago, describe what it is that you saw when you walked down in that direction.
Well, I was advised that there was a white vehicle there, a white vehicle on that ramp, and that next to that vehicle is where my complainant would be found.
I want to make reference to the vehicle we see in there. It's that white vehicle in State's Exhibit 41, that Toyota. And let me go to State's Exhibit 42. Did you then go to the white Toyota and start taking pictures of that?
Yes.
What do we see? Just the back side of it?
Yes. Front side.
This is State's Exhibit 44 we're looking at. That's just the front driver's side. 45, we see the passenger side front. Is that right?
Yes.
Now, kind of moving down toward the back of the vehicle on the passenger side, in State's Exhibit 46, is this the passenger front door?
Yes, it is.
I want to make reference to the handle. There's a little red spot on there. And then this is State's Exhibit 46. So in State's Exhibit 47, is that just a close-up of the spot?
Yes, it is.
Why did you take a picture of that?
On a vehicle, when we're photographing a vehicle, if there is any damage or any items that stand out that could be potential evidence, they're photographed for future.
future processing or testing if necessary?
Yes,
State's Exhibit 48, what, is that the same mark? Why is there a ruler up there?
we put a scale next to the item just to show what size, more or less, the item is we're looking at.
For reference, I want to show State's Exhibits 49, 50, and 51. So here's 49, that's again the passenger side door, 50. Looking at State's Exhibit 51, what is that that's lit up in the photograph there?
That was a fired cartridge casing on the passenger floorboard.
And for those of us who don't know what that is, what's a cartridge case?
The cartridge case is the part of a bullet, of a cartridge, that remains after the bullet is fired. If it's a revolver, it'll remain inside the revolver. If it's an automatic weapon, it will be ejected, and that is more likely what this is.
State's Exhibit 52, we see it a little bit more close up. Now, did you open the door to the vehicle and collect that actual item?
I did not.
Why not?
A warrant is required before we enter the vehicle, and we had to wait for that warrant. So I did not enter the vehicle
So you left it right where it was, you just took the picture after you lit it up?
to show exactly where it was. Yes, sir.
Going to State's Exhibit 53, I want to make reference back to that white Toyota. Now, you mentioned that you had seen a body lying on the ground. Describe for the jury what you saw when you got to the scene next to that vehicle.
There was a white female in black scrubs laying face up next to the driver's side.
Did you notice any obvious injuries?
There appeared to be, due to the amount of blood, there appeared to be an injury to the chin that was visible to me at that time.
Based on your training and experience at that point, did you have an opinion or have some idea of what you thought that the type of injury was to the chin?
At that very moment, no, until the medical examiner was able to respond and move her so that I could see more and have a better idea of what happened there.
And what did you find out it was?
It appeared that it was an exit wound on the chin.
And describe to the jury or explain to them what an exit wound is.
The exit wound will be the wound that will follow the entrance when a bullet or bullet fragment enters and it leaves, in this case, the body. It will make an outward, leave an outward injury, showing that it is an exit wound.
So basically, it's where a bullet would have come out.
Yes.
At some point in your investigation, obviously, you learned that this young woman lying down on the ground was Kendra Hatcher. Is that correct?
Yes.
And I want to go to State's Exhibit 54 as you kind of go around the vehicle with these photographs. What do we see in State's Exhibit 54?
Ms. Hatcher laying on the ground face up there.
When you get there, Mr. Santiago, do you move her, move anything on her?
No.
Why not?
We as crime scene investigators do not handle, in Dallas County, do not handle the complainant, in this case, Ms. Hatcher. The person or complainant, or in this case, Ms. Hatcher, belongs to the county medical examiner. Therefore, we cannot touch her.
State's Exhibit 55, we see a little closer up. Now, are there any items that you noticed on the ground along with Ms. Hatcher?
Yes, as I approached, I noticed there was a magazine, a gun magazine near the left side leg or foot And further up, there was another item, a fired bullet and a cell phone near the head.
Let's go to State's Exhibit 56, which the jury has already seen. And this was a picture that you saw where just from a different angle on the vehicle.
Yes.
Now, I want to go to State's Exhibit 57 now, just so the jury understands what they're about to see. This picture depicts the wound to the chin, the exit wound that you described to the jury, and it's a close-up of Kendra's face. Is that correct?
Yes.
And we'll go to State's Exhibit 57. Now, in State's Exhibit 58, do you see the items on there in this picture in State's Exhibit 58 that you described? I guess it's sort of in the foreground on the left side of the picture. Is that the magazine? Basically goes into a gun, right?
Yes.
And then we can obviously see the cell phone up in the middle of the picture by Kendra's head where the blood is. Is that correct?
Yes.
Let's go to State's Exhibit 59. Now, what are those markers that are in the picture there?
Well, those are item markers so that we can have some type of reference to what the item is in our reports and in the photographs later on.
So with reference to in State's Exhibit 59, placard number 1, let me go to State's Exhibit 60. Is that a close-up of the magazine that you described?
Yes, it is.
Did it have, bullets in it?
It appears, yes.
Referring back to State's Exhibit 59, then I want to go to 61, placard number 2. What is that?
That is what appears to be a fired bullet fragment.
Back to 59, we'll make reference to placard number 3 there. We go to State's Exhibit 62. Is that the close-up of the cell phone that you observed on the ground?
Yes, it is.
Mr. Santiago, I want to kind of, for reference, go to State's Exhibit 63 here. And we'll back out a little bit, and the vehicle where Kendra was and where her car was back up against the wall would be at the back of where the picture is. Is that right?
Yes,
So,
towards the back of that last SUV on the right-hand corner there.
and so this is the middle row of that parking garage. Is that
Yes, it
fair
is.
to say?
Yes.
Now, I want to make a reference to that. Going kind of down that road to the left, that's 63. We'll go to 64 here, and this is 65. And you walk down this direction, you were taking pictures. We'll go to State's Exhibit 66. Now to State's Exhibit 67 with reference to that silver vehicle. Now in 69, what do we see here?
A cigarette on the ground next to that silver vehicle,
So let me
driver's
go
side.
back to State's Exhibit 68. Where was that on the ground?
To the left of that vehicle.
And we can kind of see it on the ground in the middle of the picture.
Yes.
You might be able to tap the screen up there, Mr. Santiago, to your left there. Well, it doesn't work. Your Honor, may I approach the witness briefly?
You may.
Mr. Santiago, can I get you to look up over your right shoulder? Is this where it is? Just so we understand.
Yes.
Mr. Santiago, why did you mark that and collect that cigarette?
When on a scene, anything that's around is photographed and collected in the event it might prove to be evidence later on.
So it may not have anything to do with anything. It's not your job to make that determination. You just collect it and let other people figure out what to do.
That's correct.
May I have the light, please? May I approach this? I want to show you States Exhibits 71, 72, 73, and 74. Okay, let me start with States Exhibit 71 and its contents. The States Exhibit 71 is that the magazine you collected at the crime scene that the jury's already seen?
Yes.
States Exhibit 72, these are the bullets, the cartridges that were in that magazine, is that?
Yes.
States Exhibit 73, this envelope contained the bullet fragment that you collected from the ground.
Yes.
States Exhibit 74, is this the cell phone? That was on the ground.
That appears to be it, yes.
State offers 71, 72, 73, and 74.
No objection.
Am I publishing in front of the jury?
You may.
I'm going to show States Exhibit 59 just so the jury understands where these items were. So let's start with States Exhibit 71. With reference to States Exhibit 59, that placard, is this the actual magazine that you collected from the crime scene?
Yes, it is.
And this is something that would go into a gun, and then it was loaded with the bullets that are contained in States Exhibit 72?
Yes.
We can show the jury one of these bullets. So these are bullets that are loaded in that magazine, and then they'd be fired from a gun. Is that right, Mr. Santiago?
Yes.
States Exhibit 73. This is the bullet fragment that's marked on States Exhibit 59 as placard number 2. Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
And States Exhibit 74. This is the cell phone that's marked as placard number 3 on States Exhibit 59. Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
And just so we're clear, Mr. Santiago, that magazine and that ammunition there, I can show it to you again, that's .40 caliber, is that correct?
I'd have to look at it or refer to the notes.
Let me take a look at it.
Yes.
I don't want to make you look at something really small, but on this magazine it says Smith & Wesson, is that right?
Yes.
Mr. Santiago, once you collect these items, it's not your job to actually conduct any testing on them, is it?
Some items, yes, and some no.
How about those particular items?
The magazine could be dusted for fingerprints, the cartridges also.
Were you able to identify any fingerprints off of that magazine?
I don't believe so.
You tried, but
Yes.
no luck with that. Now, when you looked in the vehicle, Kendra's car, you flashed the light, you looked around, did you see whether the keys were in the vehicle? Did you collect any keys?
No, I did not.
Did you notice whether there was a purse in there or anything like that?
I don't believe there was any of that in the car.
Did you notice whether there was a camera in the car?
There was not.
If there was, you certainly would have made a note of that and photographed.
They would have been photographed, yes, sir.
Mr. Santiago, I want to show you what I marked here, State's Exhibit 70. Is this a diagram of the row where Kendra's car was parked?
Yes, it is.
State Exhibit 70.
No objection?
You made it.
So we understand what we're looking at. That you depicted this is where Kendra's vehicle was and where she was.
Yes.
Now, we see that there are cars in the spaces, so does this picture depict where the cars were parked when you got to the location?
That's exactly what it's showing, yes.
So let me make a reference to a particular space, this one right here. So when you got to the location, there was no car parked in that particular space.
That's correct.
Now, Mr. Santiago, after you collected the items, photographed the scene, and described what you have for the jury here, did you have further involvement in the case involving the murder of Kendra Hatcher?
A while later, a day or so later, yes, I did.
I want to make reference, draw your attention to September 10th. Did you respond to the Dallas Auto Pound to process a vehicle on September 10th?
Yes, I did.
Do you recall what type of vehicle that was?
It was a dark-colored Jeep.
Explain to the jury what the call was out to the Auto Pound.
The call was for a search warrant of a vehicle at the Dallas Auto Pound. There, if a vehicle is seized, it's taken there, secured, and then we respond when a search warrant has been obtained. We then take photographs of the vehicle as we do with all crime scenes or potential crime scenes, and then enter the vehicle to search for evidence.
Describe for the jury what you actually did when you got to that Auto Pound. Did you take pictures once again?
Yes,
Okay.
I did.
Here, I'm going to coach the witness once again. Let me show you State Exhibits 92 through 106. Are these photographs that you took of the Jeep that you processed on September 10, 2015?
Oh, yes, sir.
Is this what it looked like that day?
Yes.
State offers State Exhibits 92 through 106.
No objection.
You made it.
Mr. Santiago, let's start with State Exhibit 92. Is this a picture of just the front of the Jeep?
Yes, it is.
Continue with 93. You see sort of the damage on the damage to the paint on 93?
Yes,
We're going to 94, we're kind of looking at the back driver's side, is that correct?
yes,
We go around to 95, and 96 as we slide around the back side of the vehicle. 97 there. What do we see on 97?
damage to that right rear quarter panel.
And 98, we're now on the passenger side of the vehicle. Now 99, what did you take a picture of here?
Damage to the passenger door bottom part.
100, we're back on the driver's side of the vehicle, so let's go to 101. You then, at some point, open the doors, now you're taking pictures of what you see inside. And again, is this before you've actually collected anything?
Correct.
Okay. This is 101. Now 102, that's the back seat.
Yes.
We want to jump over to the other side of the vehicle, 104. Or excuse me, that's 103, we're looking at the front. Now, in State's Exhibit 103, I want to make reference to right what's in between that console. What was that?
That was a piece of paper that turned out to be a receipt from a store.
Now, in 104, we're just looking at the back seat. Now, did you actually collect that receipt out of the vehicle?
Yes, I did.
I'll show you State's Exhibit 105. Is that a picture of the receipt?
Yes,
So you picked it up from where we saw it in State's Exhibit 103, and then took a picture of it, and now we can see in State's Exhibit 106 a close-up. Is that correct?
yes.
Was there anything else that you collected out of that Jeep, Mr. Santiago?
I'd have to refer to my notes on that.
Tell you what, if I just for brevity, Mr. Santiago, I've got your report here. There was nothing else you collected out.
Okay, thank you. So I did not.
Would that refresh your memory?
Yes, thank you.
Your Honor, may I have the lights, please? And may I approach the witness? Let me show you what's in this envelope. It's marked State's Exhibit 107. Does this envelope contain the actual receipt that you collected from the vehicle?
Yes.
Set up for State's Exhibit 107. No objection.
Amen.
Your Honor, I'm going to publish it to the jury. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a receipt from Sonic on September 2nd, 2015 at 3:53 p.m. Sonic is 8602 South Polk Street in Dallas. 6 corn dogs, one small high seat punch that we purchased again at 3:53 p.m. Mr. Santiago, after you had been to the location where Kendra Hatcher was killed, and after you returned a little over a week later to the auto pound then to process the Jeep, the jury just saw, did you have any further involvement responding to any locations in reference to this particular case?
No, I did not.
Mr. Santiago, I appreciate you coming down. I think that's all the questions I have. I pass the witness, Your Honor.
No questions?
Thank you, sir. You may stand down. You're free to leave the courthouse.
Thank you.
Falls and one in Oviedo.
Good afternoon. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you shall give in this cause will be the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, sir. Please introduce yourself to the jury.
Yes, sir. My name is Detective Eddi Oviedo, Oviedo, badge number 8364.
How are you currently employed, sir?
I work for the Dallas Police Department, Crime Scene Unit.
How long have you been with the DPD Crime Scene Unit?
With the Crime Scene Unit, 10 years, sir.
And you're actually a police officer.
Yes, sir. I did 6 years in the Southeast Division.
So when did you start with the Dallas Police Department?
Approximately 16 years ago.
And at what point did you move into the Crime Scene Unit?
That was about 10 years ago that I applied for the unit.
And during your time before you got into the Crime Scene Unit, where were you assigned?
I was a patrol officer in the Southeast Division. I worked the South Dallas, Pleasant Grove area.
Tell the jury a little bit about the training that you had to have to become a member of the Crime Scene Unit.
The Crime Scene Unit was a position that came out and you have to apply for it. Multiple people sign up for it. You go through a review board, and then eventually you get picked. And then you go through 2 weeks of classroom, and then after that, about 10 weeks with a field training officer, which is a senior detective there. And after the approximately 3 months of training, you're pretty much on your own.
How many crime scenes do you think you've processed in your day at the Crime Scene Unit?
In 10 years, thousands.
Were you there at the same time that Mr. Santiago, who the jury just heard from, was there?
Yes, sir.
You do, so you know him.
Yes, sir.
So you guys basically did kind of the same thing.
Yes, sir. He worked in the evening shift. I worked the morning shift.
Okay. Well, I want to talk about a particular location that you were asked to come out to on September 4th, 2015 at about 9:20 a.m. at the Dallas Auto Pound. Why were you called out there?
I believe it was Detective Cheney had a warrant in hand to process a 2007 Toyota Camry.
As part of your investigation, were you informed that this Toyota Camry was that of a victim of a capital murder named Kendra Hatcher?
Yes, sir. I found that out once I got to the auto pound.
So describe for the jury what it is you do when you get there.
I arrived. I met with Detective Cheney, and he showed me the warrant. And after that, he requested for us to process the vehicle, which included photographing the vehicle and looking for any firearms evidence inside the vehicle.
May I approach the witness, Your Honor?
You may.
I want to show you State Exhibits 332 through 341. Are these pictures you took out at the auto pound when you processed Kendra Hatcher's Toyota?
Yes, sir.
State Exhibits 332 through 341.
No objection.
Let's go to State Exhibit 332 here. This is the front end of Dr. Hatcher's vehicle.
Correct.
State Exhibit 333, floorboard, driver's seat.
Yes, sir.
What do we see in 334?
That's going to be the back seat, left side.
Now, obviously, that's an umbrella in the seat. What was that on the floor there, that gray-looking thing?
I believe that was a window shade.
So just so we're clear, when you get there, the pictures you're taking, that's exactly how it was when you saw it, right?
Correct.
So we also understand how the vehicle gets to the pound. Is it towed or does somebody drive it there?
No, sir, it's towed.
So it's left as is, towed to the pound.
Correct.
State's Exhibit 335, we're looking at the back passenger side. No, it's 336, we're looking at the floorboard there of the passenger side and the back seat, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
I want to go to State's Exhibit 337 here. This is the front floorboard and the passenger side, is that right?
Yes, sir.
Now, with reference to that, I want to go to State's Exhibit 338. What do we see in State's Exhibit 338?
That's a fired cartridge case.
I'll zoom in State's Exhibit 339. That's a cartridge case.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Santiago, explain to the jury what that is. That's something that would come out of a gun after it fired a bullet, is that right?
That's correct, sir.
And that's exactly where you found it.
Correct.
State's Exhibit 340, you put a placard there. Why did you do that?
Just to identify the seizure that I'm about to remove from the vehicle.
So we can see a close-up in State's Exhibit 341. Is that the fired cartridge case?
Yes, sir.
Your Honor, may I approach the witness?
You may.
If I could have the lights, please. I'll show you State's Exhibit 75. Does this envelope contain the cartridge case that you collected from Dr. Hatcher's car?
Yes, sir.
This is the actual cartridge case you picked up that we see in the picture there. Is that right?
Yes, sir. It has my initials and badge number.
Set over State's Exhibit 75.
No objection.
Admitted.
May I publish?
You may.
Detective Oviedo, let me get you to take a look at that cartridge. Can you tell by looking at it what caliber that is?
Yes, sir. It's a 40 caliber, according to the head stamp.
Now that we've seen the pictures from the inside of the vehicle, we didn't see any purse. Did you see a purse in there?
No, sir.
Did you see any car keys in there?
No, sir.
Inside that vehicle, did you see a camera or a box for a camera, anything like that?
No, sir.
Detective Oviedo, I think that's all the questions I have. I appreciate you coming down. I pass the witness, Your Honor.
No questions, Your Honor.
Thank you, sir. You may stand down. You're free to leave the courthouse.
Thank you.
Members of the jury, let's take a break. It is 2:30, and you'll be back in the jury room at 4:03.
All rise.
Now remain seated.
Good.